Thank you. Well, you mentioned academies, and that has come up a couple of times. We're going to learn a little bit more about academies. We're also going to learn a little bit more about what the Chamber of Commerce has been doing. I have a couple of questions for you, so get your little clickers out. This is your last chance with your clickers. So we're going to talk a little bit about trade-offs. And I've got about 3 or 4 questions here, I can't remember. More basic skills. Would you support more basic skills even if it meant that it would be more difficult to measure success? Remember we talked about that in the first approach. Some of those work skills, those character education, kind of tough to measure. I think this table in their report out talked about that last week. Would you be willing to support more of those basic skills, even if we wouldn't be able to measure it? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, this community is willing to support the schools working harder on those character, that work ethic. A good many are willing to support that, even if it means that you can't come back to the school and hold them accountable. I think we had a conversation, I think this table was talking about, those are long-term kinds of things that you measure. We may not be able to measure that within the 4 years. I think that came from you, didn't it? See, I remember you. Okay, would you be willing to support more math and science, even if it might shortchange some students? The dilemma this table talked about over here, the liberal arts. I think you talked about it also at this table over here. Would you be willing to support more math and science, even if it meant we might lose a few students? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're kind of spread out, but there's this looks like an area that needs a little more conversation, doesn't it? Looks like there's a lot of concern about losing some students, a lot of concern about not meeting some students' needs. I think that probably would be a good agenda item to sit down and just spend a couple of hours talking about how do you have that rigorous academic math and science and not lose some kids. How do you take care of both? How do you balance those resources? Okay, next one. Would you be willing to focus on local business, even if it meant somewhat limiting the horizons or the futures of the students? Focus on preparing the kids for the local job market, even if it meant they had a narrower perspective or a limited horizon. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't like that option. So somewhere in that support for, we need to have more internships, more apprenticeships, more externships, the new language introduced by this group over here. Somewhere in the middle of all of that and taking advantage of our local businesses, there's also a little bit of concern about limiting the horizon of our students. Okay, great. I want you to keep those in the back of your mind. We're going to have a presentation.